It was the boat ride.
I sent you those videos. You got them.
I'm not his keeper.
No, you're not.
Just looking at me like, did I know? No. Didn't.
All right, so we're gonna go to Hosea now. Um, the that story of him marrying the prostitute, and then the second woman, whoever that is, if it's Gomer redone or something else. But as we saw in chapter 4, the whoring of Judah, Hosea's words, not Judah, Israel and Judah, are what he's complaining about. And he's going after the priests in chapter 5. Remember, he's talking to the northern kingdom. So the main temple in the north is Bethel. There's Bethel and Dan. 2 cities with the temple. Let me do my map thing because it's fun. Eek. If you look at a map of Israel, Jerusalem is even with the top of the Dead Sea. So if you're ever trying to find Jerusalem, it's at the top of the Dead Sea, 1/3 of the way to the coast. There it is. Okay. Easy enough to remember. Top of the Dead Sea, 1/3 of the way to the coast. Bethel is just above it, right there. Dan is above the Sea of Galilee. Extreme northern end of Israel. And the northern kingdom, or Israel is split. The division between the north and the south is right through here, right between Bethel and Jerusalem. And that's how Jerusalem, that's why David chose Jerusalem. It depends. Yeah, David's time, who knows? It's a Jebusite city, Canaanite city, I don't know how many live in it. And during the time of Hosea, I don't know. Well, I just don't know. Bottom line. David's first capital was Hebron, which was right in the middle of Judah, which makes sense. Then they conquered Jerusalem, and he made that the capital because it's right between, exactly like Washington. Take some territory out of Maryland and Virginia and make the District of Columbia for our capital right in the middle of the 13 colonies. That's exactly what they did, Jerusalem. So I'm assuming founding fathers got the idea from the Bible, who knows? But so Bethel is the site of a major temple, and Dan is for the north. So the people don't have to travel that far. Because remember, you had to do the sacrifices at the temple. And the temple was in Jerusalem. Solomon built it. We're going to take the tabernacle, we're going to make it out of stone. And so it becomes a permanent sanctuary. But then the country divides. And the king of the northern kingdom says, well, I can't have my people going down to Jerusalem every year. That doesn't make any sense. It'd be like the president of the United States saying, I can't have my people going to Richmond every year. So we build a new temple. And he built it in Bethel. And Bethel, the name Bethel means house of El. And El is the generic word for God. It's also the name of the chief god of the Canaanite pantheon. El, God. It's related, it's like Allah. It's just a word for God. So Bethel, I mean, it's been anytime you see Bethel bait in the name of something, there's a temple there. Bethlehem is not house of bread. It's not what it means. It's a place where there's a temple to the god Lachmu, who is a war deity. That's what that is. Or Beit Shemesh, house to the sun god, and so forth. So there's been a temple here forever. And then they just made it a Yahweh temple, El temple. In the north, they tended to use El and not the divine name. We see this even in the Psalms. The Psalter's got 5 books in it. And if you look, the second book, Psalm 72 and beyond, comes from the northern kingdom, whereas the first book comes from the southern kingdom. And there's a psalm that shows up in both books. It's the same, except the difference is in the one in the first book, it says Yahweh. And the one that shows up in the second book, it says El. And that's the only difference, really, between the two. So Bethel is a site of a major sanctuary. Now, the capital of the north started out at Tirzah. It ends up in Samaria. By the time of Hosea, it's in Samaria. It's the capital of the northern kingdom, but this is still closer. And so this is a major shrine, and that's where Amos is going to preach. We don't know exactly where Hosea is preaching. The assumption is we don't know where Hosea is from, but the assumption is he's from the north. We just don't know where in the north. But he's prophesying against what they're doing. Now, when he's preaching, this is in the middle 700s. And I said, you remember, I said, Assyria was spreading down. And it's about to conquer them. And so this is probably 730, maybe 750. 722, they will cease to exist. There'll be no northern kingdom. It will be gone. So very short amount of time. And they're going down. And this is what Hosea is prophesying against. All right. Brooke, would you read for me? Is that big enough? Is it big enough, Julie? Is that better? We're old. You Gen Zers. Are you Gen Z?
VHS is cassette. Hear this, O priests, pay attention, O house of Israel. Give ear, O house of the king, for the judgment is for you. For you have been a snare at Mizpah and a net spread on Tabor.
Tabor's a mountain. Mount Tabor is right here. So he's just talking about your religion's not helped. But now he's talking to the north. Go ahead.
The vultures have gone deep into slaughter, but I will discipline all. I know Ephraim and Israel is not hidden from me. For now, O Ephraim, you have played the whore.
We're back to this theme. He's really slamming this. Okay.
Israel is defiled. Their deeds do not permit them to return to their God. For the spirit of whoredom is within them, and they do not know the Lord.
Think about that. This is Hosea's judgment on the north. How well do you think this was received? Continue.
The pride of Israel testifies to his face. Israel and Ephraim shall stumble in his feet. Judah also shall stumble with him. With their flocks and herds they shall go to seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn from them. They have dealt faithlessly with the Lord, for they have borne alien children. Now the new moon shall devour them with their fields.
So the corruption has impacted Judah as well. And even during the rituals, they will not find him. It's too late. It's what he's saying. You're doing well. Keep going.
Will the horn of Gibeah,
Gibeah of Saul. Gibeah is a town in the north. That's where Saul's from. Saul's hometown.
the trumpet in Ramah,
That's Samuel's hometown. Samuel the prophet. Up north. These are northern towns. And he's appealing back to the history.
sound the alarm at Beth-aven, we follow you, Benjamin. Ephraim shall become a desolation in the day of punishment. Among the tribes of Israel, I make known what is sure. The princes of Judah have become like those who move the landmark. Upon them I will pour out my wrath like water.
So Judah's not going to escape. Moving a landmark, it's a big deal because it's how everything is determined. Your land is here, but that's because we can measure from the landmark. And if you move that landmark, everything gets thrown into disarray. And what he's talking about is the equivalent of our taking things by eminent domain here, taking your advantage of political connections for personal profit. Move the marker and make this land yours or whatever. Go on.
Ephraim is crushed in judgment, because he was determined to go after Phil. But I am like a moth to Ephraim, and like dry rock to the house of Judah. When Ephraim saw his sickness in Judah, his wound, then Ephraim went to Assyria and sent to the great king. But he is not able to cure you or heal your wound.
Now, so what he's talking about is appealing to the Assyrians for help against their neighbors. But Assyria is going to destroy Israel, the north, in coming down.
For I will be like a lion to Ephraim, and like a young lion to the house of Judah.
So Judah's going to bite it as well.
I bear and go away. I will carry off, no one shall rescue.
Yeah, I was reading this last night. I got to thinking. They're living in a time when wild lions exist in their territory. This isn't Africa. This is Israel. And down in the Jordan Valley in the forest, they have freaking lions. You know, we have mountain lions. I live in Colorado, and you have to deal with mountain lions. That's not a lion. It's certainly not enough that it becomes a metaphor, a figure of speech, a young lion. That would be not something I'd want. I was at the Tulsa Zoo with Stephanie when the lions roared, made my blood curdle. I'm across the moat just sitting there. It was so loud. I can't imagine hearing that. And there's nothing between me and it but grass. It'd be a scary situation. Go ahead.
Turn again to my face, until they acknowledge their guilt and seek my face, and in their distress earnestly seek me.
So that's not going to happen. It's the bottom line. They will be destroyed. So we move on to 6. And we're going to spread the wealth. Sure.
Earlier, it sounded like there was no escaping this and that it was determined and fixed. And that last thing you just read makes it sound like it's not fixed. Until they acknowledge their guilt.
Well, you have Judah and Israel. And Judah will repent, but Israel will not. It's the bottom line. Could they? Apparently, but they don't. That's all I have for you.
Does that mean it's still a warning, or is it just this is what it's gonna be? That's the.
Is it etched in stone? The Hosea is acting like they need to repent, they're not going to. So it's as good as done. That's about as far as I can take it. All right. We're we need somebody to read Jane.
Let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us that he may heal us. He has struck us down and he will bind us up.
And bind us up means to wrap in a bandage.
After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up that we may live with him.
Little resurrection language here.
Let us press on to know the Lord. His going out is sure as the dawn. He will come to us as the showers, as the spring rains that water the earth. What shall I do with you, O Ephraim? What shall I do with you, O Judah? Your love is like a morning cloud, like the dew that goes early away.
Here it is, poof, you're gone.
Therefore, I have hewn them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and my judgment goes forth as the light. For I desire steadfast love and not sacrifice, the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings.
This was the verse I sent out last night, if you got it. For I desire covenant loyalty, which is what that word is, and not sacrifice. Experiential knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. You guys are fixated or thinking, well, if I do the rituals, then everything's cool. And he's going, no, I want covenant loyalty. I want you to embrace the Torah, embrace me, and know me. That's what he's going. It's knowledge of me, experiential knowledge, not head knowledge. Experiential knowledge of me rather than burnt up. But you keep going back to this. You want sacrifices and burnt offerings. That's something you can wrap your head around. The Christian walk gets easily subsumed to Bible reading if you're not careful. The Bible obviously is important. I've devoted my entire life to the book and making people understand the book. But that's not the goal. That is a tool towards the goal, which is to know God and to be known by God. That's even what we're talking about in church. So when we read the word, the intent is to learn about God and to experience him. And having your theology down because you've read some books is important, but that's not knowing God. Knowing God is knowing God. It's experiencing him in your life, acting. And we'll see this over and over. We worship a God who talks and who walks. It's a God that moves. And that's one of the contrasts that they're going to make in these prophets is that you're worshiping wood. How stupid can you be? Our God speaks. He talks. And he talks now. And he's talking to you. Every day he's talking to you. It's just, do we hear it? We've got to get in the mindset of hearing it and listening for it. We're not prophets. We're not Isaiahs. But we are men and women of God, and God speaks to us. And it's not new revelation. It's contextualized revelation in the sense of this is how the word applies to you here and now. That's what God's going to speak to you. So look for it, listen for it. Don't turn your head from it. And when you get If something strange happens, talk to your brother and your sister about it. That's what we're here for. And we can go, I think that was God. And we can talk about it. So it's knowledge of God that he wants, not burnt offerings. Verse 7.
But like Adam, they transgressed the covenant. There they dealt faithlessly with me. Gilead is a city of evildoers, tracked with blood. As robbers lie in wait for a man, so the priests band together. They murder on the way to Shechem. They commit villainy. In the house of Israel, I have seen a horrible thing. Ephraim's whoredom is there. Israel is defiled. For you also, O Judah, a harvest is appointed. When I restore the fortunes of my people, when I would heal Israel, the iniquity of Ephraim is revealed, and the evil deeds of Samaria, for they deal falsely. The thief breaks in, and the bandits raid outside. But they do not consider that I remember all of their evil. Now their deeds surround them, and they are before my face. But their evil they make the king glad, and the princes by their treachery. They are all adulterers. They are like a heated oven whose baker ceases to stir the fire from the kneading of the dough until it is leavened. On the day of our king, the princes became sick with the heat of wine. He stretched out his hand with mockers. For with their hearts like an oven, they approach their intrigue. All night their anger smolders. In the morning it blazes like a flaming fire. All of them are hot as an oven, and they devour their rulers. All their kings have fallen, and none of them calls upon me.
So disarray, societal disarray is what he's complaining about here and talking about here. And things are falling apart. Sound familiar? Like in our time? You're doing well.
Ephraim mixes himself with the peoples. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Strangers devour his strength, and he knows it not. Gray hairs are sprinkled upon him, and he knows it not. The pride of Israel testifies to his face, yet they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all them.
They do not return. Okay.
Ephraim is like a dove, silly and without sense, calling to Egypt, going to Assyria.
So, two major powers. Egypt down south, Assyria down north. Down north? Up north. So Assyria's up here, Egypt's down here. They're going one or the other. Neither of which is the Lord. You're looking for political solutions to what are spiritual issues. That's what he's talking about.
As they go, I will spread over them my net. I will bring them down like birds of the heavens. I will discipline them according to the report made to their congregation. Woe to them, for they have strayed from me. Destruction to them, for they have rebelled against me. I would redeem them, but they speak lies against me.
So I don't know how that addresses what we talked about earlier. Could they repent? The bottom line is they're not. So it's moot. I would redeem them, but they're lying about me. 14.
They do not cry to me from the heart, but they wail upon their beds. For grain and wine they gash themselves, they rebel against me. Although I'm trained and strengthened their arms, yet they devise evil against me.
Okay, what's he talking about here? This is Canaanite worship practices, infertility practices, trying to get their crops to be manifest, to be more productive. We need more grapes, make more wine. 16.
They return, but not upward. They are like a treacherous bow. Is it bow or bow? Which one?
Both.
Bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword because of the insolence of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt.
All right, we're gonna stop here. One of the most famous verses in the Bible coming up. We'll get that next week. I'm gonna stop sharing. We live in tumultuous times. And if you're talking to your friends, you know people are talking. Things are dark. Are we at the end? Who knows? I also know it doesn't matter. Because who's in control? God's in control. And we have to seek him. And we have to be true to him. And we have to love in a time where love is hard. Do you go to your cousin's gay wedding? Do you participate in X, whatever X is? The only way to navigate this is to know God and be his people. So we're back to that again. So you have to know God. So when you read the word, your goal is to know God in this, not to memorize magical formula, but to come to a cognizance of who God is and how God would have us act, and to develop your ear so you can hear the Spirit talking to you. And the Spirit will tell you, no, let's not go to that. That would be a bad witness. Let's not go there. Or, yeah, you need to go there. You need to love them. So we have to learn to hear the Spirit. That's what Daniel's talking about in church. And that's what we're talking about. Let's learn to hear God. Let's know God. Okay? All right. I need to stop recording.